What is up, guys? Today we will be looking at what you will be building by the end of this course. And to put it simply, it is a chat room, and we'll learn how to run the chat room just on your computer. We'll learn how to run the Rails chat room on the Wi-Fi network, which is cool, so you can have a private chat room on a Wi-Fi network for your work or for your home or something. And then we'll also teach you how to run it publicly. And you see, if we go to udemy.chatroom.herokuapp.com, you get this website exactly as I'm seeing it now. And you see I have an instructor, and he says, hey. So without further ado, I'll just show you. I can do demo, and then demo says this is a demo message. And we can create the chat, and you see it pops up here. View it on another device, you can see it. But for now, I'll just delete it because we don't need it anymore. So sweet. I hope you continue to take my course. Thanks. Okay, great. So now that we have everything set up, let's actually create our Rails project. So I'll do cd, for me, my programs directory is programs/Rails. And then if I list out the directory, you'll see all of the Rails apps that I've created. And I've already created Chatroom, which is this course. So I'm going to create a new chat room. So Rails, new, and then the name of your project, which will be chat room. And since I already have this created, it's going to ask me if I want to overwrite some stuff, which I do. So yes. And it's running bundle install. Everything's completed. So now that we need to do is let's cd into our project, which is chat room. And then let's just run the server. So Rails S or Rails server, and we'll see if it worked. So we have Control C going, and then we'll do localhost 3000. And welcome aboard, we're writing Ruby on Rails. Sweet. Alright, so now that we've created our project, we want to cd into that directory, and let's start setting up the modules and controllers so that we can actually start working on our application. And just a side note here, I will get errors as I run all of these terminal commands because I have already created all of this stuff. So if you see any errors, that's fine. That's how it's supposed to be for my system. It shouldn't be for yours. If it is, make sure to post a question. So here we are in our directory, and first we're going to do Rails, G for generate, model, and we'll call it chat. Alright, now let's generate a controller so we can control our model. So Rails, G, controller, chat. Alright, so now that that's all set up, we're going to create a scaffold. And what a scaffold does is it's like a scaffold that you might see in construction. Basically, it holds up our application, and with one command we can already do a lot. And in the next video, I will show you what our scaffold actually does when we run the server. So we'll do Rails, G, and then we'll do scaffold, and we want it to be under chat, and then we'll have a user, which will be a string, and then we will have a message, which will also be a string. Then we'll press enter on that. We'll run it, and we're ready to go. Sweet. So now let's see what we actually did here. Okay, so I have the server running, and we're on localhost port 3000, and you see welcome aboard, you're writing Ruby on Rails. And I'm going to show you what the controller, the model, and the scaffold all did to our application. So you see Rails does this all for us automatically when we did those 3 terminal commands, which is really cool. So we can do / and we'll do chats, and all of a sudden we have chat room. So we have listing chats. You see I already created a chat. It says the user is hello, and the message is what up. Kind of an interesting username and message, but you know. And we can destroy it. Okay. Then we can add a chat, and we'll say the user will be, let's just say Bob, and the message will be Bob says, or just says hi. Then we create the chat. It goes to the view of the chat, says user Bob, message says hi, and then go back. So you can see already we can sort of chat on this. However, it's really annoying because you have to create a new chat, put in your username again, then your message, then you have to go there, then you have to go back, then you can delete it if something messes up, or you can also edit it, of course. So it says hello, for instance. We update the chat. It goes back to the show method. Right here, as you see, it's chats/2. If I just do chats, it lists all the chats. And yeah, we basically have a lot of our application already done for us. We just need to make it a little bit more dynamic and, of course, add styling. So next what we are going to do is we're going to set up the index method and the new method, and we are going to switch them so that when we go to /chats, it will show the new method so that we can input stuff, but we'll also do an iframe which will show the index method, which will be constantly refreshing itself. So that may have sounded complicated, but really all we have to do is open up index.html.erb in our chats view, and then new.html.erb. And first I'm going to format these two. So we don't need the link to back, and we don't need the h1 new chat, so we can just delete that. And the same goes over here. We don't need the link to new chat, and we don't need the show method, the show table data, and we also do not need the PID of notice, and we don't need the h1 for listing chats. So now that we have that done, what we're going to do is we're going to select all of this in the index.html.erb, cut it, and then paste it at here, and then take the render form, cut it, and then paste it into here. So let's just clean that up, save this, and save this. And we need to basically do the same thing with our chats controller. So instead of when we query the index, we're not going to want to show all the chats. So cut that out. We're going to want to show new chat. And the same thing when we go to the new controller. So I'll do that and save it. After that, what we want to do is we want to go to index.html.erb and create an iframe. So iframe. And the source will be in Rails syntax, so that is opening bracket %sign=, and we'll do new chat path because that is where we actually have all of our messages displayed. Then we'll do %side closing bracket, and we'll do width is going to equal 100%, and so will height equal 100%. Great. Now you see here we are loading our Ruby on Rails server, and we'll go to /chats, and you see we have the chat room. We have right here in an iframe, we have the name of the message, and then of course this. So I'll just say another dude as the name, and then let's say hello, what's up. Create the chat, and it comes to here. We'll go back, and you see it comes up right there. So I'll just destroy that. And yeah, pretty cool. Okay, so now we're going to have the page auto refresh itself so that we can see messages being displayed without having to reload the page manually ourselves. So we're going to go to the new.html.erb in the chats view folder, and then we'll just create a head attribute. Okay, and then /head like that. And then inside here we're going to do meta http equiv equals refresh content 30. except for we don't want it to refresh every 30 seconds. We want it to refresh every second. Okay, great. So this next thing that I want us to do is, if you don't remember, when we tested out our application, what I noticed is that when we inputted like what we wanted to say and then declared the new method, it went to the show method, then we had to go back, and that's obviously going to be annoying. So we're going to open up our chats controller in app/controllers/chats-controller.rb, and we're just going to fix that. So right now, let's go to the def create method right here, and you see it says redirect to @chat, but instead we want to redirect it to root path. And the next thing is we don't want to do the notice, but we already deleted the notice, so we can just leave that there. And then also we want to redirect to root path. root_path. And we don't want to redirect to chat URLs. We also want to redirect to root path. And that's pretty much it. When we destroy everything in the destroy method. So now what we want to do is we'll go to config routes.rb, and we'll make the root is going to be equal to chats index. Okay, great. So to test this out here, we went to localhost 3000, and you see it already puts out our index.html.erb instead of having to go to /chats. And of course I destroy this. Okay. And then it fixes that. I can put in my name. So I'll do dude, bro, then hey, put that on, and you see it comes up there. Sweet. Alright guys, so now that we have the base of our application done, what we're going to do is we're going to go to getbootstrap.com, and then you want to go to getting started, and we are just going to copy this code here. And if you don't know what Bootstrap is a way for us to make our application look nicer with styling without having to do a lot of complicated CSS. So we just copy the Bootstrap CDN right here, and then we are going to paste it into our layouts application.html.erb and put it in the head function like this. So this is going to make our application look a lot nicer. Alright, so our application is pretty much done with the base stuff, but it looks pretty ugly. So now that we've added Bootstrap into our application, we are going to start using Bootstrap. And for starters, in new.html.erb, the file that has our listing of the different messages or chats, I added this style attribute in the head function. And if you don't want this, that's fine. You can just copy and paste it off of the GitHub code that I have for this course, or you can modify it how you want. But I'll just go over what it does. So we have table with a border collapse and a width of 100. Then for the table header and the table data, we have text aligned to the left and padding 8 pixels, and table row to the nth child even, and the background color, I made this nice color that was provided. And then for table header, we have the background color to equal another nice color, and then just the regular color to be white. And then we closed out the styling, and I made the meta refresh to a content of 5, so it refreshes every 5 seconds, because I realized when you put in a message, that reloads the page, and that will help us reload a lot less. Plus it blinks a lot, and with the new styling, the blinking looks a lot really ugly. So I just made it refresh itself every 5 seconds instead of every 1 second. You of course can change that. And then everything is pretty much the same down here where we list the chats. I deleted the edit function because I realized that no one would really want to edit the chat if they could delete it. And then instead of having link to delete, I have a span class of glyphicon trash, and this basically gives us a little icon so that we can just click on a little trash can icon and it'll delete it, and it's in a span tag. And then I have .html_safe, so then it doesn't just show this in plain text but actually renders it as HTML. And that's pretty much it for the new .html.erb. But in form.html.erb, everything's pretty much the same, except for if you go down to div class actions, I gave the f.submit button a class of btn, which is button btn primary. And you, of course, can also change this, and we'll learn how to do that in the next video. So that's pretty much it. All I'm going to do is help you to be able to customize your application, and then we get to test it out. Sweet. So one thing that I forgot to show you in the last video is how our application actually looks now with the styling. And so here it is at localhost port 3000. We have the name, the message in this nice green color, and we have one message. It's dude. He says, hey. I'll delete that. Okay, great. And now I'll do a new name, and I'll say guy, right? And guy will say, hey, is anyone on? And then we'll create that with the nice Bootstrap button right here. And you see it reloads, and then I'll say dude says, hey guy, and we create that, and you see there, and we have a difference in color. And then guy will say what up, I guess, and then we'll create the chat. And you see how it goes through the different colors, and we can delete that because maybe someone spelled something wrong or something like that. And it's really cool. So now we are going to get to customize your application. You know, if you want to change the color here, make this look different, make this look different, everything. Okay, so now I'm going to go over the different components of Bootstrap so that you can customize our application how you want. So the first thing are the glyphicons, and if you remember from a couple videos back, I talked about the glyphicon in the span part so that we could do the little delete button right there, and you see here it is, glyphicon trash. And you may actually recognize many of these symbols because they're used in a lot of popular websites. So we have like a profile page, loading, all sorts of cool stuff. So next, what's really cool about Bootstrap is that you can really customize the buttons here. So if you remember btn default, and you can give it left and they look like this. And also you can get a toolbar, so like on the bottom of a page or something. You can size them using btn group large. You can also do a drop down with btn default drop down toggle. You can also do this with vertical, and remember, I'll have all these links in the video so that you can look at these for yourself. And then also we have some more styling here, and button drop downs, of course, so you can also change the color here and get different actions right here. So you see, if we make a btn class of danger, it makes it red. Same thing with warning and all sorts of other cool stuff. And then labels, you can put a label in your application. So if you want to say like make a message new, you do a span class label default, just like you would with the glyphicons. And there's a lot of other stuff too. So you can make like a nice jumbotron, some alerts, all sorts of stuff. I'll make sure to put a link to this in the video description, and otherwise you can customize your application and then we'll test it out. Okay, so what we are going to be doing in this video is we are going to find our network IP address, and you're going to want to write down your network IP address or save it somewhere, because that's the URL that you're going to go to on different devices when your server is running, so that we can actually start chatting with people on our network. So on Linux, what you would do is you would go to connection information right here, and the easiest way is you go to IPv4 and it's right here. And then you would push that into the browser with the correct port and stuff. Now another way that you can do it is through the terminal. So what you would do is you do ifconfig, and if you know how to open up the CMD in Windows, you can do the same with ipconfig. And then you go see down at the bottom here, you have internet address, and it's 192.168.1.11. For me at least. It might be different for you. Usually it's going to start with 192.168.1 or 0 and then a number, but that's just how it ended up being on my network. And if you reset your network, if you turn it off, that number is probably going to change. So it's good to check up on that if that ever happens. Now, if you have a Windows machine or a Mac machine or something else, I will post a link in the resources part of this lecture so that you can find information on how to get your network IP address on that. And we'll see you in the next video. Sweet. Alright, so in the last video, we went over how to find our local network IP address so that we could view the Rails server in the browser. But another thing that we have to do is make sure that the Rails server is running. And not just running, but running in a certain way so that we can actually view it on different devices. And in order to do that, you do Rails S for server, B, and then the network IP address, which for me was 192.168.1.11. So you see that right here. Rails S-B 192.168.1.11 or your IP. So the format would be Rails S-B, your IP. Very simple, it even rhymes. So we'll do that. So we'll add a slash here, and then we run it. And now we will be able to view our Rails application on different devices. Alright guys, so it's now the final test of our application. So as you see, I have the server running correctly here in the terminal, and I have 192.168.1.11 at port 3000 on 2 different windows. And instead of Windows, you can use this on almost any device. So you can, as long as it's connected to the Wi-Fi network and the server's running properly, you could just put this URL in your phone, your tablet, another laptop. It doesn't matter, which is what really makes this feature useful. And then you can bookmark it. So for starters, let's just start a little conversation. So over here in my first window, I'll do user 1, and he'll say hi user 2, and then we'll create that chat. And you see that creates for us. And then over here, we see the message, and then user 2 will say hi user 1. And then we'll create it there. And you see in a second it's going to update, or you can just reload. And you see user 2 says hi user 1. And then user 1 forgot that he had a dinner appointment, so he'll say bye user 2. And maybe he'll do a frowny face because he's sad. And then we'll create that chat, and over here we'll wait for it to refresh, and it says that user 1 says bye user 2. So great, we're pretty much done with our application. Now, if you're interested, we're going to learn how to upload our application to the internet. Sweet. Alright, so in this video, we are going to put our application on Git, and Git is basically version control, so we can see what our application has done, and we need it if we want to upload our app to Heroku and to the internet, so then we can keep track of versions. And it's a much better way of keeping track of different versions, especially if you have other people working on them. So the first thing that you need to do is do git init. Well, the first thing you have to do is install Git, but after you install Git, you do git init, and you see I already have a repository, so I reinitialized my Git repository. And then after that, you need to do git add dot, or if you want to see, you can do git status, and this shows that I have nothing to commit, so I have everything in my application updated, but for you there'll probably be a bunch of files that shows are created or changed or whatever. And then you do git add dot, which would add everything, and then you do git commit -am, and I'll just put finished styling. And so it says it's up to date, so there's nothing to commit. And that's pretty much all we need. So the hosting platform that we will be using is Heroku.com, and Heroku is built pretty well for Rails, but they also support all of these things down here. So if you go to Heroku.com, you can find out more information on this, and this is basically what we'll be using to host our platform. So for you, you'll want to sign up. However, for us, I am just going to sign in because I already have a Heroku account. So I can do login right here. And then I'll just do login. And it's going to load my dashboard. And the one problem with Heroku is that it is a little bit slow, but eventually it will tie out, and after all, it is free. So that's pretty cool. So you see I have Con Blog, Con Toto, and Lil Alchemy Cheats here. And I can always create a new app, which is actually what we'll be doing in the terminal. So I want you to close out of this, maybe check out Heroku a little bit, read how it works, and we will get started by uploading our application to Heroku. So before we upload to Heroku, we have to change our gem file, and our gem file is basically Rails, but it has all of the stuff that we need in order to actually run the server. So it has Rails, obviously, it has jQuery, so we can use jQuery, and also has SQLite 3. Now the thing with SQLite 3 is that Heroku doesn't use that. Instead, they use PG. So if you have any questions, make sure to refer to the GitHub, and you can just copy this gem file. But basically what it does is if we're running the development server, if we're working on it, then it'll do SQLite 3 because that's what we have on our system. But if we're doing the production server, i.e. what's on Heroku, then we use the PG gem. And make sure, so SQLite 3 will be somewhere up here. You just put that into development, then make a production group and do that, and you should be good to go. Another thing is that I don't think we need real-time chatting if we have a server that no one's going to be visiting a lot. So I'm going to go to app, views, chats, and then under new.html.erb, I am just going to comment out this line right here so that if you're running it on your server so that you can chat with people in real time, you can just uncomment that. But for us, since we're going to be uploading this to a web server, I don't think we really need that. So we'll do that, and then we'll just commit our changes. So I'll do git add dot, then git commit -am, and we'll say prepare for launch. And then we got that done, so we'll do clear. And now we can actually upload our application to Heroku. Sweet. Alright, so now we're actually going to upload our application to Heroku. And there are some really good instructions here on how to do that, which I'll put a link in the resources of this lecture. But first, what we're going to do is make sure that you have the Heroku tool belt installed. Else, if you just upload it to GitHub, you can create a you can create a repository on Heroku and then just connect it to your GitHub repository. So first I'll just do Heroku login, and doing the Heroku tool belt is actually quite simple. So I'll do my email, and I'll put in my password. Okay, so now we're ready to go. So the first thing that we are going to do is we're going to create our Heroku app. So we can do Heroku create, which will give us a random URL, or we can do Heroku create and then try to come up with an app name. Now I will have to warn you, most of the names are taken, but let's just see if we can find a name that's not taken. So I'll do chat, and the name's already taken. I can try Chatroom, Name is already taken. Okay, how about Udemy chat room? Wait for that. Okay, it's good. Sweet. And now we'll do git push Heroku master. So we have that done. It's building the source. Everything's looking good. Blah, blah, blah. Now what always freaks me out is that often it will get rejected when we try to upload to the server because we'll forget something small, like we'll forget to git commit or something. But a lot of this stuff, it looks like an error, but in reality it's not. It's just a warning message and you don't have to worry about it. So that's something that I don't like about Heroku, is that a lot of stuff looks like error messages. Like right there, that looks like an error message. It's not. Same thing with this, that looks like an error message. It's not. Okay, so now we're compressing. Blah, blah, blah. We're launching. And we're live. Sweet. Okay, so now I'm going to go to Udemy chatroom.herokuapp.com and you see it says, "We're sorry, something went wrong." Now luckily there's a very easy way to fix this. And this error is simply because we haven't rake db migrated the server. So we'll do Heroku run rake db migrate. So now we'll migrate it. It's connecting. And then it says rake db command is not found. And that is because it looks like it didn't spell something properly. So I'll just do this again. Heroku run rake db migrate. It's connecting. It's up. It's waiting. And we got it. Sweet. So we're all migrated. Now we can upload right here. Or reload. And we have our chat room. So I'll just put instructor. And I'll say, hey. And unless somebody deletes this message, you will be able to see my message right here. Okay, great. We've uploaded to Heroku. Great job, guys. Congratulations. I'm very proud of what you've been able to accomplish. Because the most important part about Rails is practice, and you guys have used a real-life application that you can actually use to help yourself and to help others, which I think is great. So I'm very proud of you, and thank you.